Can you all hear me at the back? So I'm from Microsoft and I'm wearing a suit, and I feel a bit like that Apple advert where I'm a PC and Google's Apple Mac. Anyway, before I introduce myself, I'm going to do a quick test to see how savvy you are as a cloud audience. So shout out, what's the 3 biggest reasons that companies should move to the cloud? Give me some examples, please. Resilience, yeah, good one. Not what I'm looking for, but a good one. Sorry? Scalability is 1, well done. Got 2 more to go. Speed, 2. The 3rd one is? Cost. There you go. Right, so speed, elasticity, scalability, and economics. So to give you some idea, let's start over here just quickly. If you're pricing up cloud and it's coming out more expensive than your on-premise infrastructure, you're doing it wrong, okay? You really are doing it wrong. And customers come to me and say, well, I'm calculating cloud and it's coming out more expensive with any vendor. If you're doing it like that, you're doing it wrong. You're taking your existing architecture and you're trying to re-architect that in the cloud instead of doing a cloud architecture. So that's the first thing. And I can talk about that more with you after the event. The second one is speed. So like Alfred was saying, you can take projects that take 6 months normally and do them in less than 2 weeks. It's a really quick time to market with solutions. And finally, elasticity. So being able to scale up when you need it and then scale down and only pay per minute. That's really key to cloud. And an example of that is a major vacuum cleaning company who bought out a robot vacuum cleaner. And they put it into our Microsoft cloud infrastructure for their websites and everything. And it got announced on Sky News that this product was coming out and the traffic shot from here to here. And the ability to scale and pay for what you need and then shrink back down 3 or 4 hours afterwards is key to keeping your costs down in cloud. So that's cloud. Well done. You're past the test. So to introduce myself, I'm going to talk about the Microsoft Cloud today. My name is Simon Pearson. My email alias is Spears for Simon Pearson at Microsoft.com. So everybody at Microsoft calls me Brittany, baby. So my Twitter handle is @BrittanyAzure. So do follow me on Twitter because that's where you'll find all the latest releases as they come out around the Microsoft Cloud Platform. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Microsoft Cloud Platform generally as a start, and then I'm going to give you some insight as to what customers are doing now on our platform and where Microsoft sees the market going in cloud in the next 5 years. So first of all, what is the Microsoft Cloud? So you all recognize all these products, and to be fair, all these products are part of our cloud solution. We've got Xbox with Xbox Live, Office 365, a key component in our cloud story. But the Microsoft Cloud isn't about repackaging those products. And if you spoke to somebody inside of Microsoft, what we would say is that it's about the platform that those products sit on, which is called Microsoft Azure, our cloud platform. And if you take that as your ecosystem, and you look at that as your public cloud offering, and then you look at the great things we're doing around Windows Server, especially with Windows Server 2016, which comes out later this year, which is why it's called 2016. If you look at Windows Server 2016 and the things we're doing with Azure Stack, for example, which I'll talk about, it gives you as customers a really defined cloud platform where you can choose what you want to deploy into the cloud and what you want to keep in your own data centers on premises. So I'm going to talk a bit more in depth about Azure, our cloud platform. What makes it unique? And if you take the 3 factors there, so hyperscale, the fact that we've got a very strong brand and reputation with most of you customers in the enterprise space, and also our strength in the hybrid cloud space, that, according to Microsoft, is what our unique selling point is. Okay? So I'll take you through each of those individually to help you understand more kind of where we're coming from. So the first one's hyperscale. There's 3 hyperscale players in the marketplace at the moment. One's Microsoft. The other 2 are Amazon Web Services and Google. Okay? And that's according to people like Gartner, Forrester. Hyperscale is the ability to span and provide cloud on a truly global infrastructure. So this is our Azure infrastructure, okay? We are spending this year on our cloud infrastructure $10 billion, okay? That's 10 with 9 zeros. It's a huge investment. Last year we spent $6 billion, the year before that $8 billion. So it's an ongoing investment. It's by far the biggest investment that Microsoft's making anywhere across the business, okay? You can't see these blue ones very well, but these blue ones are our existing data centers, existing regions, not data centers. Okay, we've got 24 regions, all in pairs, and we've got 8 new ones announced now, because we've just announced another 2 in South Korea. So we've got 2 in Canada, 2 coming up in Germany, and more importantly, we've got 2 data centers this year being open to the public in the UK, which means that for all your customers out there that want UK data sovereignty, this will address your problems, okay? Now, spot the odd one out. Brazil. Brazil's on its own. It's the only one that's not in a pair, and that's basically, there's another one scheduled to be built, but it's been stalled for political reasons in Brazil. The reason they're in pairs is for geo-redundancy. So if a data center region goes down, our pairs are at least 350 miles apart. So you've got a certain amount of, contingency for earthquakes, or if you go to the one in Dublin for the Guinness flood. But it's got that kind of built-in contingency. Now, data center regions. We talked about a region because it's not a data center building. Here is one of our data center regions in North America. And down here, can you all see that? Down there is an articulated lorry with loads of shipping containers on full of our servers in there, just to give you an idea of scale, okay? It's a massive, massive investment. So this one's in North America, and apart from that, where does that 10 billion get spent? It gets spent on building the new data centers, but also it's getting spent on refreshing the existing data centers. So we're looking to expand those existing buildings into all this other region here. So it's a massive, massive investment, and it's here to stay, hopefully. So just to give you a kind of the scale of it, within each of those regions, we've got a number of data center buildings, about the size of an IKEA or a football field, large enough to hold in 2 jumbo jets in each building. And I think that Microsoft's actually thinking ahead of the game, and if cloud should fail, then they've got a contingency plan to sell the data centers on. It's to store jet planes. And in each region, there's 16 of those buildings, okay? Some of them up to 50 miles apart within the same region, so you've got, again, a local kind of redundancy should there be a fire breakout. So roughly, approximately 600,000 servers per region for you to use today. So that gives you an idea of the power of the compute that's available. But it's not just about spending on infrastructure. There's a huge amount of features and functionality in the Azure platform. So we've had over 500 releases in the last year. So there's a huge amount of investment. And something that people don't tend to realize unless they're using it is the amount of functionality in the Azure platform infrastructure. So to kind of show you that, and that kind of everything in a different kind of image, we've got our 32 regions here. And on top of that, you've got your infrastructure as a service components. So what you'd see in your data center today, you've got your compute, your storage, your networking. But where it gets really exciting are all these platform as a service offerings that we do. So we do everything from professional web and mobile app development areas to SQL database, which is a platform as a service, expandable, cheap, low-cost SQL database, to analytics, Internet of Things. And all of this is surrounded by probably some of the strongest security you'll get in any data center worldwide. And all of it as well is enabled for hybrid cloud operation. So you can do everything here in your data centers in the same way you can doing it in our public cloud platform. So that's hyperscale. The next one's enterprise proven, and something that people are concerned about still is around trustworthiness of data and around security. So we talked a little bit about security and about all the investment going in there, but from a trustworthy point of view, like all the major cloud vendors, Amazon and Google, we're putting a huge amount of investment into compliance and certification. And we're the most certified compliancy cloud in the cloud space at the moment. Just to give you an idea, we're spending millions and millions a year on compliance. But if you look about where we are, and I brought up a Gartner slide here because we've got our friends from Gartner in today. Everyone's familiar with the Gartner Magic Quadrants, I guess, yeah? Okay. So if you look at the Gartner Magic Quadrants for last year, you'll see that Microsoft is in the top right-hand quadrant, the leading quadrant, in all the spaces across infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, but both public and private cloud. And we're unique in that situation. We're still very much behind Amazon Web Services in terms of infrastructure as a service and storage. But when you start looking at the bigger picture, Microsoft Azure will offer a wider end-to-end enterprise-ready solution. I've also put up the Cloud Harmony reliability data. So Cloud Harmony publish independently data on all the cloud platforms to say how often they're up, how often they're down, because a lot of customers, again, come to myself, and I'm sure Alfred have the same problem from Google, and say, how reliable are you? Are you more reliable than our infrastructure? Who's the strongest? And really, to be fair, when you look at it and you break it down, we're all fairly much the same. We're all at 4 nines or about at 4 nines. It's a few minutes a year, okay? It's a fantastic level of availability for you guys to use today from all three of us. And to be honest, as customers of the cloud, you'd be silly not to do a multi-vendor cloud strategy because you want to keep your eggs in different baskets, so to speak. You don't want to have lock-in, you want to keep some reliability in there. So most customers tend to be using one of the three or a mix of the three platforms. But they're all really reliable, really reliable. Is that right, Alfred? And again, people say, well, Microsoft, isn't that Windows Server? Isn't that going to be all Microsoft products, like in the old days before my Apple Watch and my iPhone and my Google Nest at home? And it's true, it used to be a Microsoft story, but we're very different now. It's all about openness. Okay, if you look at all these different open source products that we have on our Azure platform today, and you look at the fact that we are a leading supplier of the major Linux platforms on our Azure platform, it's a different story. So if I told you that over 70% of everything new going into Azure today is on open source, would that be a surprise? No? It's quite interesting. It really is. You know, it's not like the old days. Okay, the final one I'm going to talk about is hybrid cloud. Now, why does Microsoft see itself as being unique in the hybrid cloud space? Hands up who's got servers running in their data centers has got Microsoft on in some form or another. So it can be SQL Server, Active Directory, Exchange, Windows Server. And we recognize that as a company. We know that most of you guys have invested already in our software in your data centers, okay? And we also understand that from a business point of view, you don't want to put everything into the public cloud necessarily. You might want to keep that customer data or your customer credit card information in your own data centers where you can see it and touch it and feel it. Might not be more secure, but it might suit your business needs better. You might have a key line of business app that if it goes down, your business is finished. So you might want to keep that locally so in an emergency, you can get your hands on it. And you as a customer want to mix and match. And that's essentially what hybrid cloud's about. So what we're doing is we are embedding automatic connections and automatic functionality in most of our server products to automatically link into that Azure cloud public space where you choose to do it. And one of the big breakthroughs we're having is around this thing here called Azure Stack, or Azure Stack if you're American. I always get told off for saying Azure because I'm English. But anyway, so the Azure Stack, I'll say it in American, is going to come with Windows Server 2016. And what it'll give you a complete and utter transparency between everything on-premise and everything in the public cloud. So to kind of show that in a diagrammatic form, just quickly flick through to there. Everything that we offer in the Azure Cloud Platform at the moment, all those platform as a service services you saw, all that infrastructure, all that connectivity that we have in our public cloud platform, we're going to make available over here, on-premise in your data center, should you wish to enable it. Okay? And it's not only about having the same functionality. We're going to have the same, we're going to have the most comprehensive end-to-end hybrid solutions out there. So everything from storage and backup down to connectivity, all these things you can cover. But we've also got a single ecosystem. So if you're using things like containerization, you're using things like Docker or Mesosphere or this kind of thing, we're going to have a single connection in Docker where you can distribute applications and Docker containers both in the Azure cloud and on-premise at the same time. We're going to have the same set of PowerShell, the same set of scripts on GitHub. Everything will be one solution for everything on-premise and everything in the cloud. We're also, to make it really easy, we've got the same portal, a common portal between, this is the one that you're going to have on-premise, running on Windows Server 2016. This is the new portal that you get in the public Azure cloud at the moment. So from a customer point of view, it's easy for you guys because you've got one interface, you've got one method of things to learn, you've got, you know, the same interface for both environments. And the idea is it's making your job easier to make the right decision of where you deploy things, but one way of doing it. So that's kind of our cloud strategy. Is that interesting? Yeah? Anything new on there, I hope? Good, good. So I want to finish off with a kind of a summary of where people are using the Azure platform today, and then where Microsoft see it developing over the next 4 to 5 years, okay? So the first thing we're going to talk about is where people are using it today, and I've split this down into small to medium businesses and into enterprises, because they're quite different in how they behave, as you'll see. So the first one is our small to medium business customers. How are they using the cloud? Now, to set the context, most of these customers won't have a data center. They'll either be hosting with one of the hosting providers, such as 6 Degrees, for example. They won't necessarily have a dedicated backup solution. They'll probably be still writing things to tape and shipping them off on a bike to the head office. So here you can see they're doing a lot of things that you do in a normal data center environment in our cloud. So they're storing data, they're hosting their virtual machines in the cloud space. Okay, they're the biggest two, and then they're hosting the websites after that. And that's kind of what we'd expect. If you look, on the other hand, at our enterprise customers and what they're doing, these guys normally have their own data centers. They've invested money and time into a data center infrastructure. And what we see is the biggest use there are people who are using our cloud platform for enterprise web and mobile applications. And they're also using it for transforming the data center. So they're using it for what we call sunsetting their existing data centers. And as equipment becomes out of date, they're taking that equipment offline and they're reducing the data center footprints and they're bringing the new infrastructure and the new estate up in the cloud. Okay? So that's the main things they're using it for. They're also using it for a lot of identity management, workload monitoring, and all this is being put out and being used and put out into a nice, easy interface with Power BI. So that's where the marketplace is at the moment, really, between enterprise and small to medium businesses. So if you look at where we are heading in the future, I've put down 6 key points of what Microsoft's predicting around the industry and where the industry is going to go. So the first one is that platform as a service will take center stage. And what do we mean by that? Well, at the moment, it's infrastructure as a service. And that's the process of moving towards platform as a service, right? you've got to take what's on premises and you've got to move it into a cloud environment as infrastructure as a service. But the next step is going to move that to an easier, more scalable, quicker platform as a service environment. So it's going to be not where do I start, but which method do I choose? There's going to be multiple entry points. So if you look at these, for example, you're going to have, shall I come down here and have maximum control but less speed, where I create my own custom applications and still put them, like I do now in IaaS, onto a virtual machine? Or am I going to go right to the other extreme here, where I've got a really fast deployable solution using application services in Azure, for example, where I can use web apps or logic apps to quickly generate solutions and get them out there? And we're bringing out lots of exciting stuff. We're bringing out something called Power Apps, for example, which will allow any user without a programming background to quickly create applications for a business need. So it's really exciting, fast stuff. The second prediction is that data and advanced data services are going to grow at a huge rate. So if you look at the market at the moment and see how it's growing, you'll see that now cloud and IoT and mobile are big, but in the future, and I think, is it Gartner has predicted this, or is it Forrester? I don't know. But basically, this cloud and Internet of Things space here is going to be a $7 trillion market by 2020. Okay? Microsoft, within this room, are predicting that 60 to 70% of its revenue by 2020 is going to be around data analytics, around machine learning, around artificial intelligence. Okay? This is where the market's going to go from our eyes, and this is where we're investing. And all this is going to be served on mobile devices, okay? So it's a huge change. And this, if you're going to take 1 point away, it's this. Because you should be looking at your businesses now and your solutions and thinking, how is this going to affect my business in 5 years' time? The third one is that hybrid will become the reality, the de facto standard. And again, this is Microsoft's vision, okay? But we really believe it's not all private cloud, it's not all public cloud, it's going to be a mix. And in our world of hybrid, this will be your ecosystem, where you're going to have a data center, or you're going to host it through a hosting partner, such as 6 Degrees. You're going to have service providers in there, and you're going to have a public cloud part as well. And that will make up your IT infrastructure in the future, a true hybrid environment where everything's interlinked and works with each other. The fourth of the 6 points is we're going to have an increasingly agile development model, okay? So if you look at things as they are now, we've got over here, we've got tiered apps. And that's how people tend to work today, where you've got monolithic apps, and the focus is on looking at the infrastructure to avoid application problems. Okay, that makes sense. And where it's going to is it's going to very much cloud-native apps, where things are turned around. We've got things, the focus is going to be on the application, trying to avoid infrastructure problems. And it's all going to be around containerization. So being able to wrap an application with an operating system in a container and just quickly install and scale from there. So you can quickly open up different containers, scale quickly, scale down. This is where it's all going to go. Okay? The second to last point is going to be about security. And actually now, security is an issue in terms of people are worried about going to the cloud for security. But we see it actually reversing on itself as Microsoft, and we see security being the enabler. Now, why is that? Well, it's because at the moment, arguably, our Google's and AWS's data centers are probably the most secure in the world. Okay? And if you think about it, we're working with the biggest security vendors, the biggest antivirus vendors, people like Symantec, Trend Micro, Barracuda. We're working with those guys who are the experts in the industry, okay, on a regular basis. We share offices in most instances with them. So we are developing a more and more and more secure platform, and it's going to be something that you guys are going to want to move to, because it's going to give you that peace of mind and that security that you're really not going to get in your own data centers at the moment. No matter how good your security is, ours will be better. And finally, and the last one, as I talked about earlier, is you're going to have a multi-cloud environment. You're going to have multiple vendors in there because it's the right thing to do for a business. And they're going to be easier to manage because at the moment, you want to manage Microsoft, you do Microsoft. You want to manage Amazon, you go to Amazon. So they're all independent, but they're going to be coming together in a single managed environment. So this is what the customer's needs are going to be, okay? So they're going to want to manage Azure, for example. They're going to want to manage Google Cloud. They're going to want to manage AWS and everything in your own private cloud on premises, okay? So we're developing a solution for that, which is out now, something called Operation Management Suite. Who's heard of Operations Management Suite? Who's using it at the moment? Okay, so people have heard of it, but no one's using it. It's something that can either go and be used on its own as a cloud management layer, or it can sit on top of System Center if you use System Center, for example, in your own data centers. And what it'll let you do is it'll let you manage any cloud environment and any platform, okay? So you can manage your VMware virtual machines, your Hyper-V virtual machines. You can manage your Amazon Web Services space. Everything in a single interface where you can get insights and analytics. You can see what security you've got across your entire estate. And this is quite key. And again, this is part of the openness and the new approach Microsoft is taking around seeing the need and not worrying about going with Microsoft only. We know it's a multi-vendor platform. So, they're my 6 points of where we are in the future.